Hey, beautiful souls and creative minds. Welcome to the Artist Stoop, the podcast where we turn the art world into your personal playground. I'm Jillian Zapata, your host, and I can't wait to dive into the art world with you. Each episode will be kicking it with an incredible artist, unraveling their stories and turning the spotlight on the magic that happens beyond the brush. Get ready to discover new perspectives, forge connections, and immerse yourself one captivating conversation at a time. So grab your favorite beverage, maybe a sketchbook, and let's jump into the kaleidoscope of creativity together. This is the Artist Stoop, where art isn't just a thing you see, it's an experience you feel. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Artist Stoop. Today, we are joined by Kristen Edwards. She is a native Texan whose journey through journalism, ministry, singing, motherhood, makeup artistry, and personal training has led her to a discovery of a newfound passion for abstract painting. Drawing from her deep love for creativity, human connection, and appreciation for beauty, Kristen's art is imbued with reflections on faith, nature, architectural design. She continues to evolve her unique voice with her work showcased at the Other Art Fair here in Dallas and Art Direct Gallery in Austin. Welcome, Kristen, to the podcast.
Hello. Hi. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks, Jillian, for having me. And I'm looking forward to talking about art today.
Yes. We're excited to have you. And as I've done the last few episodes, since I do know you briefly, I like to tell the audience how I know you. And we actually met at the Other Art Fair, which is a trend that's going on now with every artist except for just a few. So shout out to the Other Art Fair for bringing artists together. Yeah. I think it was your first fair and it was my second one. And I remember we were setting up that day and you were in the aisle, a few things down, and we stopped and talked. And then you're like, can I do this? Can I do this? How does my booth look?
Yes, that was my first fair. And man, it was like a whirlwind, just getting ready for it. I think that was last year. And so I just really transitioned into art more at a full-time capacity. And so, it was a really fun experience. I had a great time. I loved connecting with other artists. Everyone was so welcoming. I think that was the best part of it. Just like the encouragement from other artists and, just meeting everybody.
Mm-hmm. And you actually did really well. You sold quite a few pieces.
Yeah, I did. I sold 4 bigger pieces. So, I learned a lot too about selling, about fairs and just, the whole process.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a good fair. It was a good turnout last May.
Are you doing it again this year?
I submitted and probably not. Like some things have come up for me during that time that I'm not going to be able to, unfortunately, which, I'm okay with. I did it last year. And honestly, I don't know if all my new collection will be ready to show by then. Kind of a thing, even though I love doing fairs, and fairs can actually kind of remind me of doing this podcast, and like it's that bringing the collectors to get to talk to the artists face to face, because it's not very often, like if you do a gallery opening, it's one night, and if people come that night, then they get to talk to you. But a fair, being 3 or 4 days long, and you're there pretty much all day, people who normally might not be interested in art, it's open, to the public. They can come and see, and then it gets more people involved in talking to artists about their work, and it gets just more eyes on your artwork to meet you, and obviously that's one of the reasons why I started doing this podcast, is so that it's another way for people to connect to artists in a different form.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing it again this year. So getting ready for it, building my collection, and just working on a whole new body of work. So I'm excited about that. And it feels like we have a long time to the Other Art Fair, but we really don't.
No, you don't. It goes so
fast. Yes. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I've got to get everything painted by end of this month so I can get it framed and photographed. And yeah, but I'm looking forward to doing it again this year.
Yeah. So let's dive into your work here. So in your artist statement, you talk about meditation in your work. Can you tell us how meditation is involved in your practice and how it comes through in your pieces?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, art and faith are very connected for me. And my faith really inspires most of my abstract work. I derive a lot of inspiration through the scripture, through the Bible. And for me, I seek to meditate and pray more as, our world is very distracted. We're caught up in technology, the clicks, the likes, all the distraction that we have with media. And so more and more, I'm finding myself really desiring that sacred time of prayer and meditation. And for me, art is very grounding. It's a way that I can be fully present with myself and with God, with my creator. And so I often will pray before I start painting, and I pray throughout the time that I'm painting. And it's just a time for me to, to actually just worship. And so that's really the motivation for me, and I love creating something beautiful, and I think it just reflects on my creator who created beauty.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful, and how that it's your, this is the gift that he has given you, and then so you to honor him by working through your gift to represent him, in that sense. That's really it comes full circle. It's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just definitely a way for me to express my inner voice, I think, in a way that words can't, and words fall short, but it's something that I can bring. It's an offering to the world. And yeah, just, for me, it's really all about that.
Nice. So a lot of your pieces, so your work is very abstract. It's very calming. You have some that are a little bit more, you have a collection that's a little bit more vibrant in its movement, but for the most part, it's a pretty, a calmer, subdued palette. Can you tell us about you have a couple different collections. Can you tell us about the different narratives in each of the collection, or even the collection that you're working on now?
Mm-hmm. Well, sorry, my ears. Last collection that I just finished, the body of work, it was called The Invitation. And really, I came up with that title because it was really me going into kind of uncharted territory, just really being my true, authentic self and expression, and not having any barriers to creating. Like, really, I tried so many things. I went to a canvas on floor, largest work that I've done, and it was just pushing past a lot of boundaries, like that nobody's putting them on me, but mainly myself. And I was really pushed to do that through my mentorship program with Ty Nathan Clark, and just encouraged to just like get out there, try new things and push. And so that latest collection had a lot more movement in it, a lot more color, just a lot of just freer, broader brushstrokes. And I was inspired by looking at Joan Mitchell's work, and just the freedom that she has, and the texture and the depth. And just I really want that freedom in my work. And so I think every collection that I've kind of created has gone in sort of the season of life that I'm in. I'm processing through emotions and different things like that. And really ideas start to emerge throughout the process of painting. And so, I think I just have to go with what season I'm in, and that's kind of where I'm painting. And for the previous collection before that, it was a lot more neutral. There's just a lot more of a subdued palette to what I was doing. And I think it just, was reflective of that season that I was in, and I was really getting into textures and just pulling that in for depth and added layer and all that, because I think that represents life. Like we go through brokenness and twists and turns and things, and so I think that's the representation for me there.
Because it was more of kind of a troubled time, and it was a way for you to try and process that. Is that what you're saying? Like, that's what you're,
I think
a little bit more.
Yes, I think for me, that was, that's not necessarily like maybe that moment, but I've processed through different seasons of life where you feel, like you're wandering in a desert, or, like that. One of them is called "Raised from the Dust," and it's the idea of like we are God raises us up from brokenness, and so there's just all these different ideas of resurrection and life and beauty from ashes, and so that's the themes that I was painting from throughout that kind of first series. But this most recent series, body of work, was called The Invitation, and that to me was just really about pushing through and really grasping with these bigger ideas of creation, and really like the idea of the beginning of something, which is the first title of my my work, Genesis. And that piece really was from my mentor. He said, "This is a Genesis moment," and I was like, "That's it. That's the title." I just felt like there's something powerful behind it, something new to it, and so the idea of like really like the beginning of the world, the beginning of life, and really that beginning of an idea in our heart, and how do you pursue that, and create from that place of just like something that's like an idea coming to you and pushing into that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, that's beautiful. And I know what piece you're talking about, because obviously I follow you on Insta and you've posted it, and I looked on your website, and it's that whole collection it really does have, now that you've explained that, it has this look of kind of a beginning, the way that it's kind of subdued, but then you have these greens and blues that are just kind of like waking up, almost like a spring, like, flowers are starting to bloom out of the ground, even though I know there's no flowers in it. But now that you've told me that, I can totally get that vibe from that feeling, because it is this very comforting, like, breath of fresh air, like, okay, everything's going to be good. Let's start.
I love that, because that actually leads into what I'm painting right now, which is, for me, it's kind of like a series on motherhood, and I'm titling it Bloom, the whole series. It has a really earthy inspiration to it, and it's really like just different ideas that or maybe feelings that I've had along the journey of motherhood. I have two kids. My daughter's 13 and my son's 11. And so, as a mom, you go through so many seasons, and you feel like sometimes you're like, is this going to get better? This is so hard. Oh my gosh, I love this. Like every emotion that you can imagine. And you can feel like you're alone in that, and you can feel lost. But God, and he's called us to it, and he's called us to be moms. And there's something beautiful about just surrendering, and something that comes forth in that death, honestly, like the power of it. And so this whole idea of like of blooming, and every season contributes to that life in you, and like nothing's wasted, and that nothing's wasted in your mothering. And so every season matters, every season's important, and so there's a lot of thoughts behind it. And so that's what and you don't have to be a mom to relate to that. I think you can relate to those thoughts and truths. Just anyone can relate to that. It's just more of a promise that for like that fruit is coming, that life is coming, that the season of growth is coming.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to see what you're doing with it. I'll have to, obviously I'll watch what you post, but then obviously in May come and actually see, is it what you're going to show at the art fair?
Yes.
So obviously in May I'll want to come and see it in person,
because
it's different. Like you can see a picture of something online and go, oh, that looks cool, but not until sometimes you see art in person and you get up close to it and you look at the layers, and I'm that artist that gets up close in person to like all the paintings, and I do this, and I'm like,
right, it's so important.
Pat.
I'm that person. As artists, we like to examine the art and we're like, okay, I'm going to use that. I'm going to take that.
I've done that. I've with a couple
Yeah.
of like the Steph's concepts of the ripped, you know, it gave me an idea to do something else. And I told her, I was like, I'm totally
I love it.
this off from you.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's fine.
We're all artists are stealing from each other, you know, but hopefully in a way that becomes our own, right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
mhm.
So the titles of your paintings are very positive and uplifting. And as we are talking, I can understand why, but how do you use the titles for the paintings to help push the narrative along for that collection?
Well, sometimes the titles come to me after I paint a piece.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
one times I have a lot of titles that are in my notes. Just I pulled, you know, ideas. But then when I paint something, you know, I often see something from it and something starts to emerge. For example, my Eden painting, I just after I painted it, it's just like I kept seeing a garden, just couldn't stop. I was like, it's a garden, and I was just like wrestling through like the title, and then Eden came to my mind. And I try to bring a title in that will relate to almost anyone, that anyone can kind of grab a hold of. And sometimes different titles speak to different people. I'm not necessarily titling it for the viewer, but I'm titling it what I think is enough to give it just a name, you know, and the proper placement. So naming something is important, and I really pray through and I process it, and sometimes it takes me a while to get to that point, but it does usually start to tell a bigger story. And I think especially with this last collection, you know, it's kind of told a story, really from the beginning to the beginning of time, and then where we're going. And so it's about eternity, and so that's really it's a process that I work through, and then hopefully my hope is that it communicates hope to people and brings beauty and peace. A lot of people have said, oh, your art is so calming, and you know, I think I want my art to be a reminder of hope for people, a tangible reminder of peace, and yeah, just beauty.
I think you are succeeding in that.
Okay, good.
Just because when I've looked at your work, it does definitely resonate all of those things. So you've done a couple different things. So you've painted on canvas and you've painted on paper. Now there is that collection on paper that I find it's a little bit different than what you've done, because it has this, I have no idea what the story behind any of them is, but I'm going to tell you what I think it means. It has this childlike happiness to it. Do you know what collection I'm talking about? The one with the paper and it looks like little crayon scribbles, and it's just like little pops of bright color. And it's one of those collections that when I saw it, I'm like, I just feel really happy. There's like this jovialness to it. Can you tell us about that collection?
Yeah, that's when I was really looking at Joan Mitchell's work and just inspired by just the free brush strokes. And I was like, the color, and so it really was a study for me before going really on those big unstretched canvases on the floor. And so I started just, you know, really working with color and just not even almost like very spontaneous, just free brush strokes. And so I think that helped me to break through to get that freedom in my work, that I'm looking for. And yeah, I think you know, it's very free. It's very just fun, whimsical and colorful.
Yeah, you were allowing yourself to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think sometimes we kind of get like a little restricted in our art, and, you know, we need to just be free to do whatever, try it and see if it works. And nobody's, you know, watching you unless you put it out there. So, yeah, just have fun with it.
No, and that definitely came across, and excuse me, when I was flipping through, it would definitely caught my attention for sure. And I was like, wow, it was just a different thing than what I have, obviously what I've seen, and then the last collection you did. But I think that's good as an artist, being able to, one, try and experiment with new things, and then that each body of work doesn't have to look like the last body of work,
Right, exactly.
And I think that, otherwise, I think as artists, it gets boring if it's like rinse and repeat, like, oh, this sold, so I'm going to rinse and repeat this whole same mythology or whatever. And I'm glad that you're not doing that, because I think it helps you grow as an artist. And obviously, as you continue to push yourself, it's coming across in your work. And I'm like,
yeah, I think that's the trap artists can get into, especially if you start selling in a certain style and you think, oh, I need to paint that because that's what's sold, and so you kind of get, and that was really what I was wrestling through, like, breaking out of what I think I need to paint versus what I really want to paint. And I think there's a balance in that. I think, you do have to, if you're trying to make money, I think that's, you got to make money, and you know what sells. Like, it's okay to stay within that, but I think also to have some freedom and to try things and really still remain true to who you are as an artist, and really just pursuing your own unique voice. That's what I've been focused on, is really just growing my own voice as an artist and strengthening that, versus trying to paint what I think maybe somebody else likes.
Yeah, no, and I think I totally 100% get that, and I live by that statement. Someone once told me, in order for you to create honest art, you have to paint what you want to paint. You know, and if you paint what you want to paint, or what your inner voices or your experiences, you will then create the most honest art. And then if someone connects with it, they'll buy it.
Great. Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Art's very emotional, right? Yeah. Art's an emotional process. An abstract expression as art is. And so, for somebody that's buying it, they're probably connected to it in an emotional way. And so, you just hope that, I do hope my work connects with people. But if not, I'm still painting it because I feel it truly connected to that expression.
No, that's awesome. Is there any paintings in particular that you really, when you painted it, or when you painted it, that was like really personal, or that's like your favorite painting? Like, everyone has that one painting, like when they painted it, it was just like, wow, either I needed to paint that, or I don't know if I can let that one go.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, I really loved my Eden painting. It just was my most favorite painting from my last collection, and I don't know, just something about it just was very beautiful to me. And I don't know if it's just because I like the colors or just the way everything connected and flowed, but it was like nothing was fighting within the painting, and everything just, there was a grace upon it. And so I just still, really love it. And it's actually in a exhibit right now, an exhibition. Oh, fun, in Austin. Yeah, so that's fun. So women in art. It's so it's in an exhibition at Bee Cave's art gallery called The Hive. And this was an exhibition for women in art, and it was just around themes of beauty, motherhood, different themes that related to women. And so I submitted it for the whole idea of like beauty. And so it just connects with, I think, a lot of women. So yes, it's showcasing right now.
Awesome. And you've talked about other places that you've shown in Austin. Are you still showing at Art Direct Gallery, or?
Yes, I have 3 pieces there. And then I was a part of Vaughn's latest group show called the Big Ass Group Show, which is fun. So just slowly getting my work out there, and grateful for all the opportunities.
Awesome. And what pieces are showing there? Are they part of the beginning collection? Or are they previous collections?
They're from my first kind of original collection that I released. See here, I've got 3 pieces there, one on paper called Morning Dew, and I think that's the one it is. And then A Beautiful Collision, and the other one is The Dance.
And tell us about those.
So Morning Dew was just a work on paper that I did, and it just had like I don't know how to describe it, but it just a kind of presence, that just a calming presence. And I think, the title came to me because it's like the dew in the morning, how it's nourishing, how, but it goes away in the afternoon. So it's just something that kind of protects the earth. It's a layer upon the earth. And that's the way the title came to me. It just felt, the painting itself felt very like earthy, calm, nourishing. And so I just gravitated towards that idea from that. And that relates to, my faith and my relationship with God, and just he covers us with his love. And so that's where that title came from. And A Beautiful Collision, that was the first kind of series on where the composition's more in the middle of the words. And it just was like, I remember hearing somebody speaking about Jesus and him coming to earth, and just how, it's like heaven colliding with earth, and it's a beautiful collision. And I was like, oh, I love that, a beautiful collision. And so these, the way the color kind of meets in this painting, it just resonated with me, that title. And so and that's really what that piece is about, and just really what changes when heaven comes to earth, and what can come of that. And so, and what, as believers, and believe in faith for God's will to be done on this earth, and for good things to come, and for Jesus to be glorified. And The Dance is it was actually part of a challenge that I did, where I was working with just the primary colors, and then I think black and white. And so it was just a play on the colors. And I just felt like, wow, it's just like the composition was just like perfectly dancing together. And so that's where the titles came from.
I love that. That's what I love to hear, all of these little nuances behind each painting, because it's just like that explanation of the morning dew, and then just your thought process from point A to point B, and then to come up with that wordplay of that name. It's just, I don't know. I haven't seen that piece in particular, but I'm going to go look it up. And then obviously everyone, I will include it in the show notes with links to it so we can all see it. But that's beautiful, and the fact that you have, you don't paint for just the sake of painting. It's just like there is so much thought and passion and creativity that goes into each of your paintings. Like, it's very well thought out. It's not just, oh, I'm going to go throw paint on the canvas and see what happens. It's like, no, it starts for you. It seems like it starts obviously with your meditation, your faith, but then you come up with these beautiful play on words that then you're trying to put onto canvas for us.
Yeah, my hope is to have a visual expression of really the most important things in my life, which is my faith and truth and hope and beauty and goodness, and just that people can have a tangible reminder of that. And I've had some people commission me to paint like scriptures and ideas, and so it's an interesting process for sure. And just like, oh, this is how I see it, and I'm like, okay, here it is, but I think that for them, it does connect as well. And so that's when it's really powerful, when people can see the same thing in your work. And, but again, the viewer can see really anything they want.
Yeah.
I think that's what too I love about abstract work is I want them to connect with the work in their own meaningful way too.
Mm-hmm.
And they, most of the time people just feel a sense of like calm or peace, and I'm like, that's wonderful. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I had the same conversation with Steph, kind of something similar, that, it's great for when people connect and sometimes they don't know why they connect to it. And, we obviously, we ask them, well, what do you see? We try and get, their perspective of it first before we jump in and say like our explanation of it. And then sometimes, it's one of those beautiful things when we hear their interpretation of it. It actually is just so, exactly what on par for what we were thinking, and how we got there, but they may have come around to it a completely different way,
exactly.
And I think that's beautiful when that can happen and you're just like, yes, I did my job.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah. Is there any other pieces or exciting news that's going on that you want to share with our audience about your work, or anything that's happening in the studio?
Right now I'm just working on my work, just working on getting it stronger. And, I think I'm committed to just growing as an artist. And, I think it's a long journey. And so art is not an overnight success in a sense. Like it takes a long time to produce art and to create art. And, um, so yeah, I'm just always grateful for the opportunities that I get to show my work and share it, and hopefully encourage other artists to just continue to create. And it can be a lot of, I know, effort and energy to get in the studio and to create. And especially if you're doing it from home, because I work out of my my house, and my family is like, you need a studio, because they're like, my husband's like, canvases are everywhere, and my son's even like, can you move all this stuff? And
Well,
so
yeah, every time I've seen you, it's like it looks like it's in your kitchen sometimes, or on the kitchen counter, or like right in the pathway in between your living room and your kitchen.
Yeah, I know it's a lot. Yeah, so I think just, that's my biggest encouragement, is just to keep creating. And especially if it's something that's in your heart to do.
Yeah.
And it's always going to feel like it's hard to get there, to create. It does, you feel that resistance, and you feel that work, the effort to just to get to a point where you can actually, okay, have a paintbrush in my hand, I can paint now, So
Yes.
the process to get everything like set up, and then you're buying supplies and all the things. And so but it's a really great process for me and experience. And so yeah, I'm just grateful to be able to create art.
Yeah, it's funny, something you just said totally and resonated with me, and it's true. If it's in our heart and our gut saying that we need to create, it's so hard to explain that to other people who are artists. It's like, no, 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 you don't understand. Like it's part of me. If I don't get this out, I am going to go absolutely stir crazy. Like it's just sits there and builds and builds and builds. And I don't know if you do this or if any other artists do this, but there's sometimes I will actually paint a painting. Like if I'm working on the painting behind me, I will lay in bed at night, close my eyes, and I will start painting in my head, like, okay, if I do that next, and then I'm going to do that, and then, oh wait, maybe that color. Like, do you close your eyes and like preemptively start painting as well, or am I just like the only one that's kind of crazy?
Yeah, I think I've started to, because you start knowing your process a little bit more, and like what's gonna happen, like your materials, and so what's gonna happen when you do this with X and Y or whatever. So yeah, I think that you just start kind of, okay, if I start this and then I got to do this, and you start working out that process in your head, and you just kind of know, okay, I need to get this material or whatever it might be. And yeah, and I think our brains are always working and picking up, and and trying to, solve the problem.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah. When you go to sleep, like I'll start seeing like, okay, colors and palettes coming together. It's weird, because I think I'm just looking at a lot of art, and I'm just, like you start seeing like ideas in your head and like, oh, as you fall asleep.
Exactly. It's like that's why my notes section on my phone, like I have a specific folder for notes for this, where I wake up and I'm like, idea, get it out. Okay, go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Because it totally happens. Like I'll get, words or phrases or ideas for something, or sometimes like I'll need to research something and I'll wake up and I'll be like in the middle of the night, like on Google, like searching for something, like, okay, what is that material, or what is that fabric, or whatever it may be. And I'm like, I have to know right now. If I don't know right now, then I will not be able to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kristen, for coming on the Artist Stoop. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm so excited to see this new body of work that's going to be showcased at the other art fair here in Dallas in May. I believe it's the first weekend, second weekend.
Second weekend.
Mother's Day weekend. That's right.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone, I will put all of that in the show notes for us as a reminder. So if you are in the Dallas area in May and would like to meet Kristen in person, she will be there, and I will link the tickets for the other art fair in the show notes.
I'd love to see you there.
Yeah. Also, I'll make
sure. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I'll have her website, her Instagram, and any other way you can contact her. And obviously, I'll link all the photos of the beautiful paintings that we were talking about here in the show notes. So once again, everyone, thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and you have a great day. And that, my friends, wraps up another colorful episode of The Artist Stoop. A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their art and stories. If you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on the next Stoop chat. And don't forget to spread the love. Share your favorite episodes with fellow art enthusiasts, and let's build this community together. Connect with us on social media at JGuze Studio and Jillian Zepeda Art for behind-the-scene peeks, artist spotlights, and a sneak peek at my own art. Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep that creative fire burning. This is Jillian Zepeda signing off from the Artist Stoop. And remember, the world is your canvas, so paint it vividly.